What's up?
Hey, Irene. So, God, I heard this LinkedIn Live the other day that said like something actually really cool that I feel like is not something that we can relate to, but maybe a lot of others, because we're so good at like just being ourselves and sharing stories. But it said that 77% of women can find something more pleasant that they'd rather do than talk about themselves. So like they'd rather give up social for a week or go grocery shopping or clean a bathroom. And for me, like that like can be further from the truth. I'd rather talk all day.
I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle because I am very like as much as I'm an extrovert, I'm very introverted. So
Mhm.
there's moments of myself that I like to keep like mysterious and I don't really like everybody to know.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting is that I don't think it's something that's solely like for women. I think that men, if
Yeah.
they did that, they would find that men are the same way too. I think we live in a culture today that kind of isn't it's everybody's looking for that next escape so that they don't have that moment to like sit with themselves and like
Yeah.
really be with themselves. You know what I mean? We're always like, even when we're out somewhere at a coffee shop or whatever, like you look around, everybody's on their phone. Like they don't just take a moment to be alone. Like,
Yeah.
and almost like a weird thing. Like we're like people were, I don't know, maybe I'm projecting, but it's like we feel like if people see us alone, that it means something about us or like,
Yeah. Like I have to stay busy, right? Yeah. I
yeah.
get that. But then it's like, I don't know. And I remember when living down in South Florida, it was kind of a thing like you kind of pull in your home and you know you have your neighbors around, but you're kind of like, I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody, you know?
Yeah, it is definitely a different culture like down here. Like it's something that I think because we grew up in it, like we're used to it. But I do remember when I moved to Atlanta and like I would go to the grocery store and just random people would say like good morning or how are you and
You're
stuff
like,
like
what
that.
do
I
you
was just
want?
yeah, that even happened to me at the gym. Like I box and stuff, and so I
Mhm.
was at a bag, and I like was wrapping my hands, and I look up, and this girl is just looking at me and smiling, and in my head, I'm like, what is she look like? What the
Right.
looking at? Like, and I was like about to be like, confrontational because that's just the way we are down here. And then she literally approached me and was like, "Hi, I'm so and so. So nice to meet you. Are you new?" And I was just like, "Whoa!" Like.
Right. And in that moment, so then did that change how you reacted? Say, I feel like when things like that happen with me, if I was in an elevator at work, for example, and someone just randomly gave me a compliment, I started realizing like, wow, we all need, especially after, COVID, and we're still in COVID perpetually, but we need like that human connection. So it influenced me to then go and take that extra step to connect with others. Because you
Wow.
never know.
No, and that's
Did
what I
it
love
change
about
you?
you, Tiff. You're like literally the yin to my yang because you're the more extroverted one where I'm like,
But I'm not. I'm super introvert, but I make myself show up as such.
yeah, it's
People
amazing.
never believe.
It's amazing. I find that I have like this thing where I'm trying to work on it actually this year of like uh allowing people to help or allowing people to be
Yes.
like it's funny because I was at the gym earlier today and I was literally like punching and that's when I meditate really. That's like when I can clear my
Mhm.
mind.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yo, I have like a Batman complex. And I was just like in my head, like, I have a Batman complex. Like, I shut everybody out so that they can't come in, so that they can't get hurt. Like,
Yeah. So they can't get hurt from you or what?
yeah, so there's nobody getting hurt in general. Like, there's no
Mm,
connection so that nobody can get hurt.
that's
Like,
interesting.
it's if you look at like Bruce Wayne and Batman, like that's how he lives. And it's funny because it's like one of my favorite superheroes, and I really like relate.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
was
yeah.
laughing about it today because I was like, that's such a Batman way to live. Like,
Yeah,
and
but
not
I don't let that happen with us in this relationship. No. I
yeah,
like track it down. Like,
it's my friends like you who literally reach out and are just like, hi, like, that are the reasons I have anybody.
yeah. No, and you have so much to offer. So that's why like it kills me that you have this, you're scared to ask for help. I am too in many ways, but it just depends. I don't know. I think I won't ask for help with money. There's certain categories that I won't ask. And I think that has a lot to do with our upbringing, right? Like
Yes,
there's just
totally.
some areas I just don't feel like, I take care of myself. I I'll work 10 million jobs if I need to, like I am, just to not have to ask. But it's interesting how we hold our values so differently from how we're grown.
Yeah, I think to add to what you said, like I completely agree, but I also think I think it's a pattern that children of immigrants experience because our parents come to this country
You're
and
right.
they bust ass working all these jobs for us to have this life. And then it's like almost like if we don't succeed or if we're not kicking ass at everything, then we're ungrateful for that, you know?
Right. Yeah. And we both have that in common for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're totally right. That's why I always ask people when I meet them, I'm like, where are you from? They're like, oh, from here. I'm like, well, no, where are you really from? And
Yeah.
I'm like, what's your heritage? Like we all came from somewhere. And it blows my mind the amount of people that don't know those stories, right? They don't have a clue. Oh, I think maybe Germany or I think here. And I'm like, aren't you curious? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, I'm semi-curious. I kind of know some stuff, but like I'm sure if I dug deeper, I'd be
Yeah, but
surprised.
at minimum,
I know minimum. I know minimum because it's like undeniable, you know, like your parents literally are one generation removed from where
yeah,
they were before.
because you're first generation, both sides.
Yes.
But I'm first and second. Yeah. Which is not as common anymore. Yeah.
No, it's like deep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is. Oh my God. So I don't know. I got this Esther Perel deck,
I
like
love
card deck, and there's so many great questions in here. I'm gonna rattle up a couple of them, see where we want to
Okay.
go. But let's see. So let's see. There's the hardest lesson I've learned about love.
Okay, yeah, that's a good
My
one. Oh
greatest.
God, you want me to start crying?
No. Oh, well, I mean, I guess if that one hits you, but like I'll throw out a couple other ones. Says my views about love changed when my story of heartbreak or my greatest power struggle is with.
What is like what's calling to you?
Oh, let's see.
First one kind of I felt like I could talk about more, but I'm open to talk about any
No,
of them.
let's do it. Like, because I feel like that's going to start like bringing more things out to me. So the hardest lesson you've learned about love. That was the one.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
hardest thing I've learned about love. Got it. It's all tied into this Batman complex, honestly, because it's the same pattern in love. Like I've noticed that there's certain beliefs that I've held about myself, like from childhood, that have kind of put walls up around like the way I behave, the way I react to certain things. And it has taken oh God, I'm gonna try not to cry. It has taken losing somebody that that's really important to me to fix all that shit and to work on all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so go like a little bit deeper. So you learned like you can't just stop there.
You know what's funny? It's the Lunar New Year. It's the Chinese Lunar New Year.
Yes, it is.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting that we're doing this today because it's a great time to like clear all this shit out.
I know.
What, how do you want me to go in more?
Go in wherever you feel like, because I feel like, and anybody who's gonna watch this, or even just for own selves for personal growth, like how can people relate more to that, or like
I
how did
think
you apply?
I think it took me a really long journey. It's been almost 2 years. And I think it's like you
So was it
really,
a lost like relationship, love relationship?
yeah.
It felt like you were too much in your own head or in your complex to allow somebody to
I
come
was
in.
too much into my belief system about myself
What were those? Was it
that I wasn't good enough for somebody, that I wasn't worthy enough, um that I didn't deserve it, that I'm not somebody who people can be faithful to. It's all the same
yeah,
like
yeah.
wounds, right?
Well, that's so interesting. So I would say, what was your first memory? I'm going to think back to Greta, who is my amazing coaching tapping therapist. And she would ask me, what was her first memory of you as a child where you felt you weren't worthy enough? Do you have a specific memory in mind? Something you can think about?
I don't think I can think of two things off the top of my head that are really interesting that I've been like examining a lot lately.
We know, of course, all the trauma forms from when we're a child, not our parents' wrongdoings by any means, but it is what it is, right? And that's what shapes these beliefs in ourselves.
Totally. So when I was younger, my parents didn't really interact with each other that much. We all lived in the same house, but they were like, my dad had a studio that he had built in our house. He's huge into music and video and all that stuff. And it was literally a bat cave.
No wonder.
Literally a black padded room. Yeah. So like my mom would do stuff with me and my brothers, and my dad would be in there. And I remember as a child a lot isolating myself too, and just wanting to like be alone. Like my mom would be like, "Hey, let's go here and here," and my brothers would want to go, and I would do the same thing. I would just be in my room and I'd be playing with my toys. So I think like that definitely has something to do with it. Like
Is it
maybe
because you felt like perhaps that like things were just so separate and like dad had to do his thing, so then mom had to do hers, so then I have to do mine as much as your brothers did too?
maybe, I don't know. I think I just really like kept to myself and got comfortable in that space,
Yeah,
where
I
like
can relate.
it's kind of like I know the surroundings. I am in control of everything that's happening because I'm choosing to be alone.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
nothing really can fuck with my vibe.
Yeah, I relate totally too. And I guess like same thing with me, like my parents divorced pretty young. And then I remember, my mom, much like myself to this day, right? Like working so many jobs to keep our house afloat and everything. So she didn't have that time, that quality time to spend with us. Hindsight, knowing now, like as a mom, I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, all that she did for us, to keep things going. But when you're a kid, you don't understand that, right? You don't understand that mom's not sitting here playing with me because she's freaking exhausted. She needs to sleep during the day. You just don't get it. So you just
I
learn to like take care of yourself.
Yeah, that, and I unfortunately I don't know if it's that I've been on in a lifetime before, or I don't know how to explain it, but I never felt like that as a child. I always understood what my parents were sacrificing. I always understood the meaning of like life and valuing things. And I
Hmm.
think that's why I'm so neurotic even with Apollo, is that I treasure every like moment with him.
Follow being your dog.
Yes, I'm sorry. Apollo is my dog. Yes. So like I don't know. I never felt like I had that innocence in life to
Mhm.
just not know what's really going on.
Yeah, but I'm wondering like where that comes from. And I think like I very much knew what was going on, but at the same time, like I think because like I grew up so young, I feel, we had to take on these responsibilities because like that's just what it was. I used to call like my older sister, she's like my mini mom, right?
Yeah.
And we would have all these games and we would be like, who's going to be taking our order today? And she's going to be cooking lunch. And we took care of ourselves and we were latchkey kids. And, I learned a lot from it, but it's just times are so different now.
Yeah. No,
And I
times are
felt like, I feel like for me, it's harder for me to let go a lot of the times because I felt like I had to be a parent so young that I don't know how to just chill and relax. I'm
yeah.
so like uptight, a lot of people could say, or high
I don't
anxiety.
see it as uptight. I see it as you're responsible. Like you're you're always going to make sure, and this is probably to do with the fact that you're a Cancer too, but you're always going to make sure that everything that needs to be taken care of is taken care of.
And
And
myself super last.
yeah, well, yes, yourself super last, but that's childhood stuff. But
Mhm.
you're gonna take care of everything, and then you allow yourself to relax. But then even then, you're like, gotta be like on my hustle, like no time to drop like my guard down. So
But
yeah,
you know how hard that is? Like, which is why there's some days, and now I'm like gonna get emotional myself. Like, I just want to like break down and cry because I don't want to like bear that always, right? Like, it's exhausting. And that's why I tap into my friends often, and I never want to be a burden myself on them, but like I'll let people know like I'm feeling down, right? Like and then all it takes from me is honestly just a couple of words, someone letting me know they're there for me, and then I can like snap myself out of it. But yeah, I feel like that I'm definitely getting I'm affected by it because I'm getting upset, but like it's exhausting. Like I don't want to be in that role always. I want to feel like if someone's got my back, like they can look after me or know that things are okay. But I feel like I have to be in that role always.
yeah, yeah. What I would recommend to you, and it's just a practice every day, is
Mhm.
like start affirming that to yourself. Like
The
the
big
way that
thing.
I've gotten to where I've gotten to now is just because like for literally the last 2 years, I would sit there and investigate my wounds and like what things were showing up in my life and what was triggering me and what was the things that didn't make me feel happy every day. And I would write these things down. But like some of the
Mm,
main ones that I do, and even this morning, like I just lost my job, right? These people don't know.
yes.
But and so sometimes you wake up, right? And you're like awake, but you're like already with the anxiety and all the
Oh
like
God, yeah. Uh-huh.
like what I do now, even when like, you know, most people they have their phone right by their bed, that's the first thing they look at, that's the first thing they grab. I try, and I don't do this every day, so I can't say I'm perfect,
Yeah.
right? But things like what you're saying, I try to affirm to myself, like this morning I'm like, my world takes care of me, like my world
Mm,
has my back, like everything works out for me, everything unfolds for me. Because the thing is really, Tiffany, is that those are like the things that we, like you just said, like when you're having a bad day and you feel like you need to reach out to someone, which
yeah.
you can and you should, like I
Yeah.
need to be more like you, right?
Right.
But
Half the times I don't even realize why it is I'm feeling upset or emotional. I think it's just because I take it all in and then I just like, God, I need somebody to be there for me for a minute, you know?
it's a wound, we're being triggered, like those things play into our childhood wounds. Like it might be even something, a comment somebody says, or like some
Yeah.
like, even a thought that you have that you don't even realize because it's so like subconsciously
Mhm.
ingrained. But the key of what I'm saying is like we need to learn, and just like how we started this conversation, which circled all the way back, is like we need to learn how to be alone with ourselves and self-soothe ourselves, you know,
Yes. That's a
and
big thing for me.
remind yourself that like I got you. Like
Yes.
I got you. Like, I don't need somebody else to get me because I know that I got me. Like, you know?
Huge. That is huge. Yeah, there was a practice that she had taught me, like Greta. It was like when you kind of like hug yourself and you something about the crossing your hands and the alternating the tap is like super soothing. And I just need to remember to do it more often.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, honestly, like, you know, you, right? So, like, you will find what, like, you might be in bed and you might find that, like, giving yourself a hug or like putting your hand on your heart or like on your tummy or whatever, that's like what comforts you. And then the more that like something comes up and you sit there and you remind yourself, like, then I got you. Like, I got you. It honestly, it starts making you show up differently, even in like interpersonal relationships, because then you realize where you're being toxic. And a lot of people don't know that they're being toxic, but they realize, you start to realize, man, I'm like being so codependent with so and so because I feel
Yes.
like I need this wound to be healed. But like really all I need to do is sit there and say like, yo, what is this that I'm feeling? Okay, I'm feeling abandoned. Why? Because this and this happened to me in the past, but like this is
Mhm.
what's happening now. Like I'm good. I got me. Like I'm
Right.
okay. You know, and if people took the time to like do that, I think we would be showing up way less toxic in relationships because we do these things because we get
So
triggered and then
sorry.
we want
Gabby's
somebody
getting
else.
home.
No, it's okay. Fine. Real life, right? But we
Yeah.
have to like, you know, heal these wounds, but really we don't need to be looking outside of ourselves for this. Like we
Yeah.
need to do work, you know?
Yeah, and that's the hardest part. I feel when like we had this little conversation yesterday, which is like so interesting about narcissists, right? And like, do they really exist and all
Yeah.
that? And I like want you to bring up some of the things we said there because I feel like that's so powerful. I didn't look at it the same. I think our conversation was like, at least my question is, we talk to all these people and they say like, well, I was with a narcissist and da, 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 it's like it's so common now, but why even more so just over the last couple of years is this such a term? I still can't even fully wrap my head around the concept of it.
I think like, and I explained this to you yesterday, I don't really believe, I don't subscribe to the whole narcissist thing. I understand where like obviously it's a psychologically back term, it's a psychological diagnosis, and I understand all of that. But I think too that, and I'm sure psychologists and stuff understand that aspect of what I'm about to bring up, but I think like modern day humans, they just throw that word around.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people that people say are narcissists are actually narcissists, because and psychologists will tell you like from the ages of 0 to 7, that is when we're forming our beliefs about ourselves. And the environment that we're in is completely affecting how we see ourselves and what we believe and feel about ourselves. So I feel like, people who maybe attract narcissists and stuff like that have these wounds that attract people like that because that's what fulfills that wound for them. But I don't think
Yeah.
that it's necessarily. No, I don't agree that there's people out there that are narcissists. I feel like people that are narcissists have their own wounds, and they're just not healed. And so they're showing up, like I said, just toxic.
Right. And then it's like what they tell you is you have to teach people how to treat you, right? Or what's good for you, how you want them to show up for you, right? But that also comes from our core beliefs of things that we do or don't believe about ourselves. Am I worthy of being loved and shown love and affection? And then those people will show those things to you. The people who are totally incapable, they just kind of go away, you know?
Yes and no. I agree with that, but I also think, okay, so I really do believe, and that's why I've been doing, like I said, this work for the last couple of years. I believe how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, how you value yourself, directly links how people will show up for you. You don't have to show anybody, like physically show anybody anything. Like if you go into a relationship and you think
it's just your internal belief. Yes.
yeah, like if you think you're gonna like school some guy like on how to treat you, blah blah, no. Like you need to show up in that way for yourself. And I think people see that. Yeah, people see that, and in turn, they have no choice but to reflect that back to you, because you're not going to accept anything less than that, right?
Yeah. So I think the idea of teaching them how is not really per se teaching them. It's just you showing up and you loving yourself and believing that these things are possible, and then they have no choice.
Yeah, and literally it's been like proven time and time again, that like you can have a certain dynamic with somebody, and it could be that kind of dynamic where like you're chasing after them perfection, blah blah blah, whatever. And as soon as you start to value yourself and you start to be like, I don't chase, I attract, like this is who I am, I believe in myself, this is my power, like this is what I bring to the table. If you like it, great. If not, there's a line, you know what I mean? Like that energy, it brings you that energy back. You're a magnet to it. You know what I mean? So like, if you sit there and you want to, and if anybody out here like knows about Dr. Joe Dispenza, like he talks a lot about that, about the mind and like living in the future and not in the past. Because if you sit there and dwell on and like build this chip on your shoulder, which I used to do like back in the day, and I had to be fucking real with myself and be like, bitch, you do this shit. So like you need to stop. If you want things to change, you need to stop. So that's part of it. Like you have to keep it super 100 real with yourself and be like, these are the things that are fucked up about me because I went through this and this and this. And like, okay, cool, I forgive all that, but I'm not going to sit here every morning and wake up and remind myself of that trauma, because you're going to stay in the past.
Yeah, that's feeding that energy, and those words you're feeding like the negative experience.
You're feeding a cycle, you're feeding a pattern. And the point is, every day, even if it's a shitty day and you don't do such a great job at it, the point is every day to wake up and try to defeat the pattern and the cycle. And the more that you do it and the more you start to be that other person, I feel like you shift into that timeline, you shift into that reality. They say like, you know, that there's multiple realities out there. And like, I feel like you can pick which one you want to live in based on
your choice.
How you show up. Yeah.
And I think like how I explain manifestation to people, because it's a concept that, you know, there's so many of us, like you and I practice it all the time. I don't even do it. I just naturally have it. I think it's just my gift of being an empath that I found out like 7 years ago. But there's many people that are non-believers and or just don't understand the concept. And this is how I say it in the most simplest way. If you're climbing up on a ladder with a hammer in hand and you're wanting to hang a picture on the wall, and you're going to be thinking, oh my God, it's going to fall. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to drop the hammer. Drop there. It will drop. Like no problem at all. It will drop. So it's as simple as that. And, you know, even when I went with the girlfriend and we were looking for a parking spot, you know, and she was worried about, oh, there's no spots here. We're never going to find, I'm like, I got this. I'm like, there's going to be a spot. It's like, no problem. And the immediately person comes up right where I'm at. And then I'm like, oh, you're leaving? She's like, yeah. And, you know, it's fine. Some people are still non-believers, but it's like, if you just try it and put it into action and see what it could do, instead of thinking, like, keep saying there's nothing, just flipping the script on the simple things in life. And then once you learn it, you can level up and go bigger. And then it becomes fun. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I love it.
No, absolutely. And actually, I don't know if you know this, and not to like get all whatever conspiracy it's not, but there's actually declassified CIA papers that they've done experiments where they prove that your thoughts are actually what's creating your reality. It literally is. So there's books to prove it. Like there's a book called Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon like back in the 60s.
I have the audiobook. I have not finished it, but yes, love it.
He
Mhm.
literally talks about the whole thing I just mentioned about forming your beliefs from 0 to 7, but he also talks about certain things. So there's two things I want to bring up here. One of them is he did a case study on a woman who hated her nose, from
I remember
being a
listening to
little
that.
child. Everybody would always say like, man, you have a ugly nose, blah, blah. And she believed it. She believed it about herself. She formed that belief about herself. And he operated on her, changed her nose, gave her the most beautiful nose in the world. And she still was not happy with it.
Still hated it.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
it's
like
so mind blowing.
these are not like people think, oh, like, let's put a band-aid on it. No, like that's not how it is. You have to love that part of yourself. You have
And
to
that
love
comes from
that
the
part of yourself.
core, and it's deep core work that has to be done all the time, which is why when people say like, oh, therapy doesn't work, I'm like, well, yeah, there's different types of therapy, right? What works is constantly being aware and always putting work towards it. Nothing's going to be fixed like overnight. It's never. It's like you're constantly managing emotions.
We're humans. There's too many things. We think like over 80,000 thoughts a day. Like there's no way that every minute of every day is going to be positive, but you can sit there. And if you are like starting to spiral down these really shitty thoughts, you have the power to stop it and be like, I'm not giving my attention to this.
Right.
They say that it takes 17 seconds of you focusing on something for it to manifest. 17 seconds
Wow.
of just being like, man, I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to have a great day. It's going to be a great day. And usually those people that wake up like that have great days. The second thing I wanted to say about Maxwell Maltz is like towards the end of his book, he actually goes into talking about like the theater of the mind, which is when you sit there and some people call it daydream, some people call it meditation, but you sit there and you literally play out exactly how you want something to unfold. And the thing about the mind,
characters involved,
everything, which I'm like, it's interesting because I find I'm not a very visual person, even though in like reality, in 3D life, yes, I'm very visual, I'm very like creative, right? But in my mind, I have a hard time picturing things. So I try to like kind of, and I'll explain this in a minute, but basically what he's saying is that your mind doesn't know the difference between an imagination or reality or a dream. So the more that you sit there with yourself, which we're scared of, right? And you take this time to really focus. And I need to take my own advice because I haven't been doing this the last couple of days.
I know, we're going to hold each other accountable for sure. And if anybody else needs it, like we're all here for it.
Yeah, comments, let us know. But yeah, like the more you sit there and you unfold this reality in your mind and you kind of like see it happening, you're creating that for you. You're creating that for yourself, you know?
It's so like powerful. I can't even. Yeah, there was something else I was going to say about that one too. I forgot. I can go pull some of these other cards here. Let's see.
Oh, I wanted to say like about that. For me, what I had to do, since I'm not great at visualizing, so maybe this will help somebody else. I literally wrote like a script, like a narrative, a story of something I want to unfold, and I voice recorded it onto my phone on the voice app. And so I find myself like being stressed or panicking during the day or having like just a shitty day, I will force myself, because I'm ADD AF, like, so for me to sit down is really hard. I will force myself, and like even if I have to put headphones in, to sit there and just listen to it. And even though maybe while I'm listening to it I'm being like fidgety and I'm not really paying attention and stuff like that, I still try to like take that in and take the story in and like hear it, because I'm not really good at visualizing, as much as possible. See it, feel it, make it real.
That's a good idea. It's like a really great idea. And I think it's like, whether it's that or like creating what came to my mind is just creating like a vision board of where it's a combination of the words, but then the pictures of,
absolutely.
Like if I want this certain job, then it's like maybe it's like clipping out the logo of that company and, putting a picture, like if you're looking for a relationship, like just a picture of like a man and a woman together, like whatever it is.
Totally. And that's the beauty of manifestation, is that actually it's literally you're the conduit. So like anything that inspires you to believe that that story is true, the story that you're trying to manifest,
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter if it's a vision board, it doesn't matter if it's in your mind, it doesn't matter if it's on an audio tape, like that, just that moment that you take to put that energy towards that story and believing that that story is true for you and that's something that could happen is what makes it happen.
Yeah, and what I've learned too, and just in several things of reading and just talking to others, it's also speaking whatever it is you're wanting in like the current state. So you're supposed to wake up every morning and say, you know, your practice your gratitude, what you're thankful for. And then it's like thanking myself, it's like, thank you so much. I'm so thankful for this amazing new job that I have, or this amazing, you know, relationship that I'm in, or whatever it is, but as if it is current, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say, like, there has been moments in my life that have been pretty like dark for me, and I didn't really feel like and this is before I've done all this work, so it was in the
Yeah.
past. I didn't really feel like I could see anything like positive in a day.
Right.
So what I would force myself, if you're in that place, which no judgment, like I've been there.
All of us, we have all of our days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I would literally at the end of the day, like in the notes app on my phone, I would start writing like things that happened through the day, even if it was like something synchronistic or like something like somebody smiled at me today, you know, I would write that in there
Mm.
so that I can like remember that like there are good things happening all the time, just because it's not like the thing that I want to happen. Like it doesn't mean that those good things are not happening, and I need to start being more aware of those good things, you know?
Yeah, that's really, really great advice. When I'm, yeah, that one therapist of mine, Greta, she had given advice for that too. Just for example, like in a scenario, this can work within friendships or relationships or whatever. It's the same thing. You're basically in the morning, you start your journal page and you write down all the things that you love or like about that person or the situation or whatever, you know, that they are a, you know, really caring person, that, you know, this work offers me the opportunity to whatever, kind of stating those things so that when things start going awry and then they kind of blow up for bigger reasons, then we kind of can go back to that list and say like, oh, they're not all that bad, or, you know, and then
Yeah,
we kind of start, then we can get, it's all about changing our vibration. So you can start attracting more of those better positive things from the situation or person, which you
absolutely.
can't do when you're in the moment.
And if you know, if you really believe, like, which I do, that 17 seconds of focus on something, a negative story about something or a negative feeling, a negative vibe about something creates it, then the
Yeah.
more 17 seconds that you give to that thing, the more you're pushing that thing along to happen, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like it's interesting because in a world where we're actually trying to be distracted so much, like
Yeah.
it's so important how mindful you really are and what you're giving your time, your energy, your attention, your focus to, because that is literally shaping everything around you, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And people make time for things they want, honestly, you know, it's kind of
But
like those,
people though, Tiff, make times for things they don't want. Like there's
that's
people,
true.
there's people who in their mind, there's something living rent free in their mind, story that is a,
Friends always do.
yeah, or like a some kind of relationship problem or a friendship
Yeah.
problem or something. There's always something in somebody's mind that's living rent free that they don't want to be in that reality. But we don't realize that the more we focus on that and say like, or if we have, like we talked about the other day, if you sit there, like we're good friends and I sit there and vent to you about another friend and tell you what's going on with her and blah 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 and all this shit, I'm letting that story, that narrative of that person, that dynamic in our relationship live. I'm giving it power,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So like it's cool because I think the more conversations we have like between us and people like this,
Yeah.
we start to build these friendships with people who are like woke and understand. And they're just kind of like
Authentic.
when you start going down that path, like Tiffany can be like, no, Irene, that's actually not how that person is. Like, we're not giving that story energy. Like, we're not, you know what I
We
mean?
always want to be like that bitch. Da, da,
Yeah,
da,
and
da, because negative
we think that's actually like making our friendship better because we think we're like having our friends back.
relational. Exactly. But it's
We're
not.
actually giving power to the shitty story that we should be like, no, girl, that doesn't happen to you every time in relationships. You don't get cheated on. Stop saying that story. That's not your story. Like,
That's not your story. Yeah.
so like, I think it's cool because I think the more we talk about stuff like this, the more people we can get to like be onto this and
Yeah.
not let victimhood thrive, because I think victimhood is the downfall of our like society. Like,
It
you know,
is. Yeah. And trust me, I've been there, done that myself plenty of times. And, so I feel like it's all in us, but I don't know. I think as far as friendship goes and all of that, and whether it's like a friend or somebody you meet, organically, naturally, so many people are just scared of being authentic and being vulnerable. So we tell people things just I feel like what we end up with all is these surface relationships. There's no depth there. It's kind of like how's your day? Oh, it's great. How's your day? I mean,
then change the story.
yeah,
I challenge
exactly.
you to change it.
I am. I'm gonna start asking, deeper questions and kind of change that because it's just, yeah, and that's a really great point, actually.
I think what I've noticed too is that a lot of people are so involved in their stories and their shit and their whatever that sometimes we don't even take the minute to just literally ask somebody how they're doing. Like, how
True.
are you? Like,
I know, and I think that's when somebody asked me that recently, and on the phone, and like I broke down in tears.
yeah.
Is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, it is, but like I'm so used to being there for everybody else that like I just felt like a moment of like, oh my God, I can release. And
Yeah.
like, thanks for holding the space for me because it was needed,
Yeah, heck yeah, but change that story too about being there for everybody else. I mean, it's beautiful that you are, but I challenge you to be there for yourself a little more.
Mhm.
Even if it's a couple of minutes every day that you start doing, I think the
Right.
more you do that, the more, things are gonna change. You're gonna see.
Yeah. And I just hopefully it'll inspire others to have deeper relationships and connections, and know that, especially for women, that's always that stigma of like, oh, we're there for each other, blah, blah, blah. But then are we really? And are we the first ones to stab each other in the back? I mean, shit. I see it all too often. It sucks. You know it all too well.
I know it all too well, but I also like I think that's part of why I have this Batman complex, because I only let people in close enough to where their knives can't reach me. Like,
See,
you
that's a different tactic. Yeah, me, I can do that in relationships, where I kind of want to protect myself just so that there's never any disappointment, right? Because that's the worst feeling ever. But then it's like, am I protecting myself too much to not really allow like real closeness?
yeah. Yeah, I think like
My
you
guard down is lower with friends than it is in
yeah,
relationships.
because you know, okay, so you need to go deeper and examine why you feel that way, because it's going to lead you to your one of your core wounds. There's like 6 of them.
Yeah.
Next time we do this, I'll write them down because I don't know them off the
Yeah.
top of my head. But it'll lead you to figure out what your core wounds are, and then you literally have to look that wound in the face and you have to like
Call it
abolish.
bullshit.
Yeah, because like if you keep that wound alive, we're just gonna have the same conversation and things
Right.
aren't gonna flow or change differently for you. But once you look at that wound, like for mine, it was definitely like rejection and abandonment.
Mhm.
I think I have all the wounds. I just don't remember them right now, but I'll write
I
them
didn't
down.
even know there was like an official list of them. I just felt,
Yeah. Yeah, there's
mm,
6 really core wounds. I'm telling you, girl, like I really like after that loss that I had, I
yeah,
really took like a deep dive into like, because it's really easy to blame somebody else for something not working out, like a
yeah,
relationship, be like, oh, because they're this way or this way. But I really had to look at myself and be like, yeah, but what the fuck did you bring to the table? Like you
yeah.
brought this
It's
sloppy ass version of yourself that's not confident, that's not this, that's not, you know what I
right.
mean? That's not healed, that's blaming outside people for shit that happened to you when you were a kid. Like, no. Like,
Telling
we're
the
not
same
showing up
old
like
story.
this.
Hmm.
Yeah. So even now, like, I mean, look, I'm not fucking perfect. We can have these conversations, and I'll even yesterday I caught myself bitching to you about shit. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, you're making that story keep going, girl. But
Right? It's not
glad you're
true.
noticing it. I'm glad you're noticing it. At least you're
Yeah,
noticing. Like,
we
you know
can.
what I mean? Like, we can only take accountability when we want to. And that's a like very challenging thing to do, but I challenge people to try. Like
Mhm.
it changes you. It changes your DNA. You show up differently. Like,
I
I
think
don't
one of those things too is like what I notice a lot in you, and I have some other friends who do this too, is apologizing all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's not required. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry for about, no, I want to help you. Let me
But
do
it's
my
because
part.
that wound that I have is basically you're apologizing for taking up space and existing because you
Yeah.
don't believe that you're worth of taking up space. And that's something that definitely I'm working on. You know, for sure. It's one of the last ones that I'm tackling. Like, but yeah, it's true. Like, but the fact that we can sit there, like sometimes when I do apologize, like I'll be at the gym and I'll like be taking paper towels and somebody's waiting to take the paper towel and I'll be like, I'm sorry. And
Right.
like when I do that, sometimes I have to be like, girl, you need to stop apologizing for existing. I was at a party one night when I was younger. I'll never forget this guy. He came up to me and he kind of looked like Johnny Depp a little bit. And I was just like,
Hmm.
whoa, you know, and he was telling me, he's like, you should never apologize, like you should never say sorry. And I was like, why? And he was like, because it takes your power away. He's like, it takes your power away. He's like, if you want to say I apologize, say that word. But it goes back to the same shit I've been telling you, is that your mind doesn't know the difference. So the thoughts, the words, all that shit that are coming out of your mouth, your mind hears those things and is like,
Right.
okay, we're not worthy. We apologize. Like, and it keeps going with that story.
But I honestly wonder though, how much of this is like, do women deal with this compared to men? I feel like men just have this ability to just show the fuck up and not apologize mostly, and just they live in that confidence. It's just,
I think they deal with different wounds. I think
yeah.
they deal with different wounds. I used to feel like that. I used to have a lot of opinions about men that I had to reprogram for
Mhm.
myself
Totally.
because I realized that those were based off of experiences that I had and I judged everybody with that same lens and it's not true. Like we all are humans at the end of the day and we all experience trauma and I think for men it's different because for men like a lot of them are told not to show emotions, are told to grow the fuck up, are told to
So maybe
make
that's why they
like
naturally just won't apologize because that can be considered as an emotion, perhaps.
yeah, and I think, like I said, like your wounds attract your people, right? So for me, I've never experienced that. I've always had men that had no problem apologizing because that's not something that I believe is true about men, right? So I think
Mhm.
that what we believe and what we experience forms our experience. It's a
Oh,
mirror
you're right.
to show us what we need to work on, right?
Yeah.
So even if you're working on yourself, which is literally your entire life's work, it never ends, okay?
Yeah. Of
Not something
course.
that you can be like, got it. Like no,
Done.
you're fucking working on yourself all the time. So like every day as you experience things, you have the choice to be like, okay, this is something that's triggering me. Why? It's
Why?
it's because of this wound that I had, and I can see it like this, and I can remove myself from the situation and not react the way I would. But there's some moments that yeah, you're gonna be triggered by shit, and you're gonna react, and you're gonna show your ass. You know what I mean? And you're gonna act like a crazy person or whatever it is that you do. Like I think just the more that we are able to catch ourselves in the moment, because that's the important thing. This present moment right now is when we're creating. So I
Yeah.
think the more that we can, and that's why freaking meditation and all that shit is like literally proven to work because it's literally stopping you from all the noise and being like, what's happening in this moment right now?
Hmm. And
You
not
know,
letting any new thoughts kind of re-enter your head, which is hard. It is
it's
hard.
hard, but you also like literally are the gatekeeper of your thoughts. So you can
True.
sit there and be driving home from the grocery store and start to be like, man, I hate like this part of my body, or like I hate that this is going on in my life, or like, and you can sit there and take that journey of hate down that road, or you
Right.
could sit there and be like, nah, man, everything's gonna change. Everything's working out for me. Like everything
Right.
always works out. Right now, this is shitty, but like it has to be shitty right now because this is about to happen. Like,
And
so
also every situation I feel like is a lesson. Like it's a lesson that's much bigger than us, and we know, why these things come into our life too.
yeah. It is a lesson, but it's a lesson sometimes that we bring onto ourselves. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because
That's true.
it's something that we've given attention to. Have you ever noticed in your life that you've given something attention to something for like a minuscule moment, and then maybe a month later or a week later, a couple days later, like you literally see it happen in physical reality, and you're like, dude, I was just thinking about that. And like,
Right.
yeah, so like we're all doing it. Our thoughts are literally doing it.
Which is why it's no, surprise whenever you and I are like texting each other, reaching out. It's like, I was just thinking about you. Yeah, me too. It's like
Yeah.
never
And
a
the thing,
surprise.
and here's the really funny and most important thing about manifesting is the things that you give a less of a shit about, like thinking like, oh, I should call Tiffany. And then like 2 days later, Tiffany calls me. Like those things manifest really quickly.
Right.
But the things that you are like, man, I could really use a job right now. Like I really need a fucking job. Like, how am I going to survive? I need a job. Like that shit repels the job. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
so even right now that I'm in this situation, like I literally sit there and I have to catch myself and be like, bitch, the more you think like this, you're
Like,
not going to find
oh,
it.
yeah, like that's what I was telling you when you were like, oh, but all the layoffs that are happening right now in the world. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah.
That's not for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is like, we have to be our own, like, judge and jury. Like, we have to be our own person that is like, hey, do you really want to spend more time giving this attention, or would you rather focus on what you want, like instead
Yeah,
of
and go make it happen.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. I love this. This is so much fun. So much fun. We have like so many other cards I can go through, but I also want to save our topics and like spread them out because we'll just go forever.
I know. I know. How long is it right now? Do you know? Do you have a timer?
Yeah. I have all these amazing cards. Yeah. It's like,
I like the art on them. They're really cool.
I know. Yeah. These really beautiful box, like Esther Perel's Where Should We Begin game. I'm like so
Okay.
excited.
And so what's the premise then of the game? It just has a bunch of like questions.
Yeah, I haven't read the directions just yet, but it has like 3 different types of cards basically. So it's like simple games, like I think you're like dole the card. Yeah, you shuffle them out, and somebody selects a prompt card, and yeah, so there's like rolling dice and just kind of flipping the cards.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah,
why don't we do one more card since I think we've probably been on here for
yeah,
like an hour. I don't know if
yeah. We're
anybody.
like 10 minutes short of an hour, but like let me pull another one. So let's see. Hmm. Let's see. This might be it. Well, okay. So there's something I grew up thinking was normal, but later found out wasn't. Trying to think.
Yeah.
Something people often must misunderstand about me.
I can go into that one, but again, to me, what I've realized is the things that I believe people misunderstand about me are because I believe that they misunderstand them about me.
Totally. Because I feel the same way. Like, I think the biggest thing for me is that I feel like people misunderstand me. Like, it's so general. Like, the thing that people most often misunderstand me is that I feel like they misunderstand me, like, as a
Yeah.
whole. And it's
Yeah.
because I've been so like, what version of myself do I put out there? What are people thinking? And be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be myself. Like, this is the type of friend I am. If you want to be my friend, right? I'm gonna speak my truth. And I feel like we're gonna be authentic and be honest and real with each other, right? And this is how I'm gonna show up in all the other areas, just because I feel like that's just the way to be. And I know that I'm a text bomber and people are gonna laugh and love it, but that's just me, right? And they could think all these quirks, but a lot of it is linked to my ADD, which is fine. A lot of people don't understand, but whatever. But yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. So what I would say is change that story. People understand me.
People understand me. And they
Yeah.
know that I am who I am and like I'm great as
People,
I am.
yeah, like I'm telling you, Tiff, literally when I started working on myself and stuff like that, I would write lists down and I would record. I mean, literally, I make 8-hour recording tapes that I listen to at night of things that I need to reprogram in my mind because your subconscious mind is always on, especially when you're sleeping. So, I would make tapes like that. Like people understand me. People, for me, it was something I had to examine, like I had mentioned to you, in work situations where I always had this dynamic with my boss that I always felt like they thought I was better than them and like always, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Mhm.
I had to really work on myself, and some of those affirmations that I do have in the tapes that I listen to at night are like, my boss loves me. I have a great relationship with my boss. Like everywhere I work values me. I bring this and this and this to the table. Like people understand me. People take their time to listen. People care. Like, and so when you find yourself in that situation where you're like, oh, I hope this person's going to understand me or how I need to show up, I would tell you that you just say, like, I'm Tiffany. I love myself. I love the way I am. People understand me. People love the way I show up.
Mhm.
People accept me for who I am.
Right. So
Because
that's
I accept myself, because I accept myself for who I am. You know what I mean?
right.
And like, I think that helps so much in switching the energy. Like I did notice a change in like the way that I had a dynamic with my boss because of changing that
Mhm.
story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that is so, so powerful. So let's see. Um, hmm. My
Sorry.
greatest power struggle is with,
Myself, dude.
yeah,
Myself.
because
I
we are
think
our own
that's
worst enemies.
I'm not, no,
No,
not giving.
no, not enemies. We're own worst, it's like my dear friend Crystal, who she's amazing, is always teaching me exactly the same lessons, that it's speaking the truth in the words. And anytime I was speaking to her, she's like, nope, 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 nope. So I am
Mine
my
doesn't do
own
the
best
difference.
champion. I am my own best. What's some other words? I need the
You're
script.
you're your own, you got your back. Like you're
Yeah.
your own best friend. You're your own best person. You love yourself. Like,
I am my own best like teacher
yeah.
and expert of my life. And I don't need to lean to others for advice because I got this.
Yeah, and
You know?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Tiff. Like at first, sometimes you're gonna say this shit and you're gonna be like, I don't believe it. Like that's not true or whatever. And it doesn't matter because, like I said, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality or something fake. That's why they always say, like, also be careful with like the jokes you tell and stuff like that, because your mind doesn't know the difference. So when you start off, you can sit there and say those things to yourself and it won't resonate, it won't feel true to you. But
Right.
after a while, if you persist in that and you tell yourself, like, no, I got my back, like my world takes care of me, even if your world is crumbling around you, which, hi, you know, like you still wake up and say, like, no, my world takes care of me. Like everything's unfolding for me. I
As
got
it
my
should.
back. Like you'll start to really have your back. It's crazy because you're going to start to believe it's true, and that's
Yeah.
when like things start to change, and it might be like one area that you focus on now and then you're like, fuck, I need to work on this and this and this. But like I said, it's never going to stop. Like until the last day that you're breathing, and who knows, even in death, like you might have
Yeah,
to
who
still
knows what's gonna
yourself,
happen
like,
then, right? You're gonna come back as our dogs.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's save some of the other ones then, because yeah, I think we can kind of go on. This has been like so much fun.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to do the next one. I'm gonna write down the core wounds and maybe
Yeah,
we can talk about them and see like how we relate to them and like which ones we feel like we have or
I want to do that so much because I think the first part of like anything is being really aware, right? So first, here's what they are, and then you have to kind of get really deep into yourself, and that's why I asked the question about when was it when you first realized the first moment as a kid, because that's how you go and heal and fine tune those moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creating those
The
narratives.
next time we meet, I'm gonna bring up a really interesting story that I'm trying to like get to the bottom of.
Okay.
With
Make sure you
my
jot it down so you don't forget.
Yeah, I will. As soon as we get off the call, I'm gonna write down the core wounds and then story, and I'll write down the story, because I think it's interesting, like as you're doing this work, how certain things come up that you maybe like it's like a memory or something that you didn't even realize that you're still carrying or whatever. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you realize like how it's connected to something, how you view something today. And it's just interesting how it's like a long cord that you like get to the bottom of. And then once you get to the bottom, it's like you just really just need to untie that knot to like fix it, you
That's
know?
right. It's like, tell me more, tell me more. And then I'll share with you during that time how when I did my work with Greta, how your mom, actually, Rita, who I love, Mama Rita came in when Greta told me to pick a person that would help heal and get me out of the situation. She
It
came to
was my
mind.
mom.
It was your mom.
That's so crazy. I'm only gonna, okay, I don't want to drag this on, but I'm only gonna say that's crazy because what I've noticed this week, when I got laid off and stuff like that, like I really wanted to indulge my victim wound of like being in this space of like being rejected from my job, whatever. And I was really looking for my mom to be like super nurturing and super, she's a Cancer. That's what you guys do, you know? And I was really looking for her to be like emotional and like, you know,
Oh, my
I'm
baby.
such a, I'm such a like hard person. I'm an air sign. I'm very cold. I'm very
Yeah.
like touch me. So I was really looking for that, and she was totally not giving that. Like totally
You're like,
not
what
giving.
the hell?
No, I wasn't what the hell, but I was like, bitch, you need to love yourself. But like I was just like, I found it interesting because I was like, my mom, part of the reason maybe I'm like this is because my mom really isn't a very like nurturing, like lovey-dovey mommy kind of,
But
you
I
know.
think it has nothing to do with the core of who she is and what she wants to be. Because the same with my mom, like not really showing love and affection as much because of how she was brought up. And same with my
Yeah.
dad. And you grow up with parents who are totally from different countries, right? And the influence of, but
And what they
yes,
had
I
to go
want
through.
that. So
I
same
think we need to save this. I think we need to save this, put a pin in it
we have
for.
like we're gonna have a ton of sessions just in our parents, so parents watch out.
Yeah, well, not only that, but like if when we start talking about core wounds, these stories will definitely come up because literally our core wounds are carried on through our parents' core wounds and stuff like that. So let's put a pin in that, and then we'll just go into core wounds next time and talk about like the past and how
And
it's reflected in the
how
future.
whoever wants to join us on this journey to work to change and just inspire others, like that's all. Like I feel
Let's
like
be accountability buddies. Like let's all just hold whoever shows up here. Like if you see
hold
us,
hands.
yeah, and if you see us like, not talking the talk on here and being like, hey, you're
Call it
really,
the bullshit.
yeah, let's call each other out on stuff. Like let's show up for each other and really try to help each other evolve because I think that just helps humanity as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. It's becoming what was your saying? You said putting the
Human back in humanity. Yeah.
it is needed like big time. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm so excited for that.
Likewise. It was good chatting with you today.
I know. All right,
I'm
well,
gonna
we'll
see
see
the
you
next
next
one.
time. Bye.